Okay, let's try to answer a couple questions about this contour mapping. All right, so this diagram shows us elevations, basically, is how you can think about it. And we want to know what is g of 3, 5. So we have our y-axis and we have our x-axis. First, what I'm going to do is go ahead and map this out and locate exactly where is 3, 5. So I want to go to 3 on the x-axis. I want to go to 5 on the y-axis. Pretty close to where we want to be, maybe up just a little bit more. So we're looking at this point where these intersect. All right, it looks to be right on this contour mapping, right? This line going across here, not a line, but a curve. So what we want to do is trace that around and figure out exactly what the value of that contour mapping is. So in our case, that's going to be at 0.6 or 6/10. All right, what do you think the highest point is on this diagram, and what's the lowest point? All right, so the highest point, if we kind of compare these different values, looks like the outer one is at 0.1. The next one inside that is 0.2, 0.3. It looks like these are increasing the closer we get to the inside. We go 0.5. The one we were just on was 0.6, 0.7. So I think if we locate a point right in the very, very, very center, that should be the very, very highest. It's sort of like we're looking at the top of a hill is how I would like to visualize this. So let's go ahead and take a look here. Just kind of line it up. Where are we here? Looks like the centermost point is around 4.75 for an x value, and right about 8 for a y value. All right, so I hope that helps out. What about the lowest point? Well, because this is like a hill, if we picked a point like way out at the extreme, somewhere out here would probably be what we would consider to be our lowest point. But the very lowest mapping has this at 0.1, but if we think about getting closer to the middle is increasing, then getting further and further to the outside is going to be decreasing. So we'd probably pick some point all the way at the very outside. All right, last one on this question. If we start at 3, 5, so I'm going to go back to 3, 5. So 3, 5. And head in the positive x direction, so off to the right-hand side. Are we going uphill or downhill? Well, we started and we said we were at 0.6 for our elevation. If we go off to the right, we get to this next one, which was a little bit closer to the middle, so that's higher. Maybe just a little bit higher as we're right about here. About the same elevation, but then we start going downhill, right? We're back to that 0.6. And then this contour mapping goes along with 0.5. 0.4, 0.3, 0.2, 0.1. All right, so we went uphill maybe just a little bit, but then we went downhill from there the rest of the way. All right, one more quick questions to go along with this. Let's just try to describe the shape of these surfaces, and then we'll take a look at part B. So on these surfaces, we go from 1, this will be 2 as we kind of trace it around. The next one towards the middle is 3, and then finally 4. So since we're increasing from 1, 2, 3, 4, this is like a hill. This one's doing the same thing, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a hill. But what about these other ones? All right, so this entire row going across here, these are each hills. But what about if we look a row below or a row above? We go to -1, then -2, -3, and -4. So these are like holes where the middle here is going to be the bottommost point of this hole. So it's almost like what's happened is these holes been dug out and then placed here where these hills are. So each one of these is going to represent a hole. Each one of these is going to represent a hill where you have the positive values. And then last question here. Suppose we travel along the surface in the positive y direction starting at the point -1, 1. So let's first locate an x value of -1. Looks to be right about here. And a y value of +1. So we go from 0, +1 is going to be right here. Describe your journey if you move in the positive y direction. So if we start at this point, it looks like we're right about the contour line 3. Looks like we're going to go up maybe a little bit, getting closer to this 4. 3, 2, 1, 0. But then we go downhill, right? We're below the surface we're at -1, then -2, -3. So we went uphill maybe a little, then downhill, got to 0, and then we kept going downhill. Now eventually, assuming the same thing's going on just off of our graph, we'd start going uphill again. So I hope this helps out as you're thinking about what these contour mappings look like and how to read them.